Hi and welcome to the third part of the EPA preparation video. In this section, or in this part, we're going to talk about dignity and human rights. This part of a standard has only one criterion, which is K7, legislation and policy initiatives on the promotion of diversity, equality and inclusion in services that you lead. So the basic knowledge that you need to have for this is the knowledge of the two specific legislation. So the Equality Act 2010 and Human Rights Act 1998. So again, that legislation will keep repeating itself, but here you're looking at it from the perspective of promoting equality and diversity. So think about the internal processes you've got in place for that area. So how that legislation impacts your role, what sort of things you do because that legislation tells you to. And here you're looking at two aspects of that. One is how you manage your staff, and another one is promoting that within the way that individuals are supported. So if we look at the staff first, so think about the recruitment. How does that process look like? Where the equality and diversity and inclusion are embedded there? For example, placing the adverts. In what sort of situation can you put some restrictions on the individuals that you are recruiting? So can you recruit for females only, males only, drivers only staff? Think about that. So the answer would be yes, but only if you have a business reason for that. If that need comes because the individuals you support, they got specific need that can be catered for only by the staff who are drivers, staff who are males or females. And then how the recruitment is carried out, the interview process. Usually a part of that is that equality and diversity kind of screening process, or putting adaptations in place for the individuals. When you ask your staff, or future staff, with the candidates, you ask them if they need any adaptations for that interview. Then it's about the training of your staff, because they need to understand what equality, diversity and inclusion mean, and how they are expected to deliver on that. And here that's going to be dictated by the processes you've got in place. So starting with the covering the data that helps you to understand how individuals are supported or how they want to be supported, what are the differences that you need to cater for, the cultural background, the beliefs. Think of a specific examples there. How would you help the individuals to understand their rights? That's all going to form the part of your person-centered approach, and that brings you on to another legislation you can mention here, which is the the Care Act 2014, which mentions person-centered approach and kind of lays the fundamentals for how it is to be delivered and embedded in service delivery. So that's an important one. I've listed here some terms that might be useful for you to understand and maybe bring them into the conversation. Equity will be quite important here, I think, and LGBTQ, British values and bias. You may have done some training for your staff on LGBTQ to help them to understand what it means for the individuals you support. So that would be a good example to share here. And here again, the difference between pass and distinction is in how you present the information. If you're going to be just describing the legislation, the policies you've got in place, so the policies could be equality and diversity, person-centered approach policy, safeguarding from the perspective of a capacity, and then distinction is about analyzing it. So if you're going to use examples and talk about the challenges that you faced in that area or your individuals faced, you could think about the individuals for whom maybe you've challenged the access to different services, when you had to, on their behalf, challenge those services. Very often that happens when it comes to medical help and support that they may need, that you need to challenge it on their behalf so they actually get the treatment that they require. So that difference about how you present that information, what's the legislation, specific examples, think about staff, the individuals you support, and then the challenges and how you overcome that will give you that distinction element.